Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Reading's in-person and virtual Sunday worship service. My name is Charlene Reynolds-Santo. I'm a member of the worship arts team, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. We choose to share our pronouns because we know people of all genders are holy, whole, and loved. Whoever you are, wherever you are from, whoever your love, whatever your faith tradition, whatever pronouns you use or don't use, we welcome you here. All are welcome here as we gather to create an understanding, welcoming, and family-friendly community where we nurture and explore individual spirituality, work to build a committed and loving community, and to help heal the world. If this is your first time with us, I'd like to extend a special welcome to you. If you haven't already, please look at our webpage at uureading.org for more information about UUCR. Here you can learn more about this beloved community, connect with staff, and for those here in the sanctuary this morning, please feel free to come and speak with anyone involved with today's service to learn more about this community. If you are watching this service online during its initial broadcast at 10 a.m. on May 7th, please join AJ Heidkamp on Zoom for conversation. On behalf of all the staff and volunteers involved in today's worship, we thank you for being with us here this morning, in person or virtually. We believe you all belong here. We believe you belong here, maybe just for the next hour, although we hope for longer. You belong here, and we are grateful that you are here with us today.
Thank you, Charles. Good morning. My name is Reverend Laura Solomon, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am the minister here at UUCR, and it is a privilege to serve this community and the world with you. As you arrive for worship this morning, I invite you to check in with yourself. Maybe you put a hand on your chest. Maybe you take a breath. Whatever helps you land fully here in this moment. Greet yourself, congratulate yourself on making it to church this morning, even on this beautiful day. Let yourself be here. Our opening words come from the Reverend Sarah Stewart. Bring who you are as you enter our church this morning. Bring your best self and your struggling self. Bring your mistakes and your triumphs. Bring your shortcomings and your commitment to good. Bring yourself here and open your heart to beauty, to truth, to the door that is open to the presence of God. Here in this church, we are trying to walk together on the peaceable way, trying to hammer out division and hatred and all that separates one from the other. We try, and we fall short, but held in love, we try again. We come together this morning as a church to bow our heads in prayer, to raise our voices in song, to remember our promises, and vow to live by them once again. Let us worship. As Unitarian Universalists, we light our flaming chalice, the symbol of our faith, with Unitarian Universalists all over the world. Today, Jaden and Gavin and Alec are going to help with lighting our chalice. Our chalice lighting words are printed in your order of service. In the light of truth, the warmth of community, the fire of commitment, we gather this day. May the flame we now kindle be to us a symbol of the holiness we seek. If any other children or anybody of any age would like to stay and recite the children's affirmation, I welcome you to do so. We are Unitarian Universalists, the Church of the open mind, the loving heart, and the helping hands. Thank you. Our opening hymn is one that is not printed in your hymnal, but is one of my favorites. So we're going to try something new. The choir will sing through the first verse, and then we will join them to sing verses 1 and 2. The words are printed in your order of service. Please rise in body or in spirit. I would like to invite anyone who would like to listen to a story to come up. Thank you so much for coming up, Gavin. Hello, Rosie. It's good to see you. Come on up. Hi, Ethan. It's good to see you. Hello, Ethan. How are you? Oh, yeah? Amazing. So cool. So here at UUCR, we talk a lot about welcome. We have that statement in the beginning that says, whoever you are and wherever you're from and whatever your faith tradition, you are welcome here. So I'm going to tell a story today about welcome, and I wonder if you can listen carefully so you can tell me the lesson that we are going to take from this story, okay? This is a story that's adapted from an Islamic folktale. Versions of this story are told in Syria and in Turkey, and I'm sharing just one version with you today. So a man named Nasruddin had been working in the fields all day long. He was tired and sweaty, and his clothes and his shoes were covered in mud and stains. He had been fasting all day long for Ramadan, and he was also very hungry. It was almost sundown, and Nasruddin knew that soon he would be able to eat. The wealthiest man in town had invited everyone to come break their fast in his home that evening with a huge feast. Nasruddin knew that he would be late if he went home to change his clothes, so he decided he was going to arrive in dirty clothes because that was better than being late. Oh, what a party it was going to be. What a feast. As he walked into the wealthy man's home, Nasruddin imagined the delicious foods he would soon be eating. Dates and lentils and chickpeas, hummus and falafel, and desserts, date rolls and figs and baklava. When Nasruddin arrived, the wealthy man opened the door and looked Nasruddin up and down, from his worn, ragged clothes to his muddy shoes. Without a word, he gestured, "Come on in," and then he walked away. Nasruddin joined the throngs of people who were all dressed in their finest clothing. The tables were laden with all of the delicious foods. Despite his efforts to hurry, the seats were all taken, and nobody tried to move over or make a space for Nasruddin. In fact, nobody offered him food. He had to reach over and around people to get any food at all, and nobody spoke to him. It was as if he wasn't even there. How do you think he felt? Sad. Yeah, sad and left out. The other guests ignored him so completely that Nasruddin could not enjoy the food on his plate, no matter how tasty it was. In fact, after only a few bites, he decided he was going to leave. So Nasruddin hurried home, and he changed his clothes into his finest clothing, including a beautiful coat. He returned to the feast, and this time the host welcomed him with a huge smile. Come in," he said. As Nasruddin entered, everybody waved and moved over and offered him a seat. "Come in and sit." They offered him all of the delicious kinds of food. Nasruddin sat down quietly, and he picked up a fig, and he put it in his coat pocket. "Eat, coat, eat," he said. Next, he put a handful of nuts into his coat pocket and said, "Eat, coat, eat." And then he began feeding his coat in earnest, grabbing all kinds of food, lentils and rice, and putting them in the pockets of his coat, saying, "Eat, coat, eat." Everybody was staring at him until finally somebody said, "Nasruddin, what are you doing? Why are you feeding your coat?" "Well," said Nasruddin, "when I first came to this feast in my old farming clothes, I wasn't welcome. No one would speak with me. But when I changed into this coat, suddenly I was greeted warmly. So I realized it wasn't me that was welcome at this party, but my clothing. And so I am feeding my coat." What do you think we're meant to learn from this story? What do you think? Don't judge a book by its cover. That's a great way of putting it. What do you think, Rosie? Be nice to people even if they don't look good. Exactly. I wonder if sometimes we only welcome people if they look a certain way, if they only have a certain kind of clothes, or if they only look like they are feeling happy, or if they look like maybe they have their whole life figured out. Our faith teaches us that everyone has inherent worth and dignity. So if people come to church and they are having a hard time, or they are different from you, or maybe they don't have someone to talk to, part of our job as people of the church is to make them feel welcome, not just because of their clothes or just because they are smiling. Thank you all for listening to our story today. I invite you to go outside with your religious education classes. We take time during our service to light our candles of community, peace, and justice. We light our red candle of community to signify our interconnection. Wherever you are in time or space, newcomer or long-time member, you are welcome here. May this light welcome and hold you, reminding you that your presence is needed in this community. As we light this candle, I invite you to speak aloud the name or names of people who are on your heart today. We light our blue candle of peace for all the places worldwide where people live with the threat of war and violence. In addition to Mental Health Awareness Month, May is also Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. In a country with increasing xenophobic violence, we pause to celebrate and acknowledge the contributions, the brilliance, the art, the lives of Asian American and Pacific Islanders in our community and beyond. And we light our yellow candle of justice. May all people everywhere live their lives in freedom, and may we each do our part in the work for justice and liberation for all in our global community. As we recommit ourselves to the work of love and justice, may we each voice this commitment by saying amen. Will you pray with me? God of many names, we sang that there is a love holding us. Most days, it is hard to feel that love, to know it is truly there underneath the hustle and bustle, underneath the violence, the sorrow, the anxiety of living. Underneath all that is in this world, we can rest in this love. I invite you to put out your hands, cup them in front of you, ready to give and receive this love. I invite you to close your eyes or rest your gaze gently on your hands and feel the warmth that grows in your heart, in your palms. Perhaps you give it a color, a shape, a name. There is a love holding us. It is always as close as our own hands, always as accessible as our breath. We rest in this love. Amen. If you have a joy or a sorrow you would like to honor through lighting a silent candle, you are invited to come forward now.
Today's reading is Human Kindness Helps Heal by Reverend Barbara F. Myers. Dr. Mark Reagans, a staff psychiatrist at the Village, an integrated service agency in Long Beach, California. He says, "When I ask patients who have done well what I did that was so helpful to them, they almost always recount some moment of human connectiveness. In other words, it is when they were the recipient of an act of human kindness, or when someone believed in them. These moments are what help in healing." Here is where faith community comes in. People of faith are experts in human kindness. We can believe in people. We can see something inside them they aren't able to see themselves. We can give acceptance and love when an illness is untreated or a person feels hopeless. And these may be central factors of recovery. I know this to be true when I started attending a Unitarian Universalist church shortly after being released from a psychiatric hospital. I didn't tell anyone but the minister about my hospitalization. The people in the church showed me many kindnesses. They treated me as a person of inherent worth and dignity. They treated me with compassion, and they offered me ways to search for truth and meaning, which is to say, they treated me in accordance with the Unitarian Universalist principles. The congregation taught me to believe that each person is inherently worthy, even me. That lesson changed the course of my life, and I am eternally grateful.
There was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do ya? It goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift, the baffled king composing, hallelujah.
Say I took the name in vain, though I don't even know the name. But if I did, well really, what's it to ya? There's a place of life in every word. It doesn't matter what you heard, the holy or the broken, hallelujah.
Thank you, choir. Good morning. My name is Alec Keeling, and I am many things: a parent, a partner, a teacher, a friend, a son, a brother, and if you happen to see me speak up here earlier this year, a brunch-loving super gay. Since this is a safe space for me, and thank you to everyone who has helped me to make it feel that way, I'll share that I am also a trauma survivor and deeply anxious and afraid every day. Not all day, every day, but every day. Some of you know me as a friendly person, outgoing and extroverted, and you might not know that experiences that many extroverts label as positive are actually really a struggle for me. Being social with new people, trying new activities, traveling to new places, even teaching a new lesson, and I've been teaching for 23 years now, often leave me holding my breath and feeling like the world is about to fall on me. I've tried multiple methods over the years to cope with these issues, and what's most effective for me is often following a set routine. It helps me feel more in control even when I have no control. Like when we travel, because I had to fall in love with someone who wants to see the world instead of sit on the safe and familiar couch in the safe and familiar living room of the safe and familiar house. Selfish. My husband accepts the fact that no matter the destination or what excitement might await, I need to spend the first hour unpacking and putting things away. It makes the unfamiliar familiar, and it gives me that sense of control. And I'm sure you've all heard the theory that nothing bad ever happens on a cruise ship as long as everyone's clothes are folded and put away in the right drawers in the stateroom. I'll be fine if a tidal wave hits because I know where everyone's clean underwear is. When my routine hits a wave, though, help. For example, I am someone who gets anxious when traffic is unexpectedly bad on my way to work. I know that my morning duty will be covered, my students will be safe, and all will actually be well. But in the moment, I edge dangerously close to abject panic because I am off schedule. To distract myself, I often look for familiar markers on my route. One of those markers has actually become another car. One of my hobbies is automobiles, so I notice what people are driving, and it happens that a woman exists who has my same car and does my same commute in reverse at the same time that I do it. We typically pass each other in Lexington in the morning and again in the afternoon. We've been doing this for 2 years. I have no idea who she is, where she goes, or what she does. But I know that she appreciates a big Dodge sedan with a V6 engine and all-wheel drive. You know what she did last Monday? She didn't pass me in either direction. The nerve. She left a hole in my routine, and the next day when she mysteriously reappeared, I wanted to put down my window and yell, "Where were you, woman that I don't know?" Because that doesn't seem creepy at all. I am grateful to her, though. Without even knowing it, she helps me on slow mornings. I figure if she's that helpful to someone she doesn't know, she must be a UU. Teaching elementary school is often a beautiful thing for those of us who thrive on routine. The set schedule, the orderly classroom, the seasonal calendar. That is until your principal stops by with news of change. Words that come out of my mouth when this happens: "You're changing my schedule? Sure, I can be flexible. Do you know when the new schedule will be available? Thanks so much." Words in my head: "Why do you hate me? What did I ever do to you except work hard and volunteer for extra tasks and spend every waking moment proving my worth at this stinking job? Words left on my husband's voicemail during my 3-minute bathroom break. I'm just calling to tell you that we're going to be poor because I have to quit my job. Everything is the worst. The following day. Is that the new schedule? Oh, you're switching my lunch duty on Tuesday to a recess duty at the same time. Great, thanks. You were right. You get to pick the next vacation. By now, you might rightfully be wondering, where is the link to creativity in all of this? And I'll level with you, on the face of it, it's hard to see. I'm not up here sketching a picture or singing a song or even doing my interpretive anxiety dance, though I did threaten to do that to my children this morning if they didn't pull it together and stop fighting. I'm just up here talking to you, which is my form of creativity. Words, typed on a screen, jotted on a Post-it, shared in conversation, are how we tell our story, how we ask for help, how we find the humor in the glitches of our day. They are powerful. They are expressive. They are creative. And they create bonds with people that show us that we are not alone. And for someone anxious like me, that's where the real comfort lies. Thank you.
Each Sunday, UUCR shares half of the funds donated to a nonprofit organization that shares our UU values. It's a simple yet powerful way for each of us to help heal the world by learning about and supporting the good works of charitable organizations and becoming more involved in our community. Our Share the Plate recipient for the month of May is Worthy Now Prison Ministry Network. The Worthy Now Prison Ministry Network is sponsored by the UU Church of the Larger Fellowship, CLF. They believe that all persons are worthy of love, respect, and support, not at some future time, but right now. The CLF supports nearly 1,700 members who are currently experiencing incarceration. The Worthy Now Prison Ministry provides correspondence courses, reading packets, a monthly worship publication, pastoral care, even pen pals. Beth Murray is the Worthy Now Prison Ministry Administrator and also a longtime UUCR member. She hopes that beyond making a financial contribution, you'll also consider becoming a pen pal. It's a wonderful opportunity to live into your UU values by writing one letter a month to a person experiencing incarceration. On May 22nd, Beth will lead a special Sunday service about the work of the prison ministry is currently doing. Please see Beth for more information after the service. Our congregation exists and thrives through the gifts of those who call this place their spiritual home. If you are here with us in the sanctuary, you may put your gift in the collection plate as it goes by. Otherwise, you may make a gift online or send a check. Please give as generously as you are willing and able to a Share the Plate offering to support Worthy Now Prison Ministry Network and the mission of UUCR. If this is your first time with us, your presence is gift in itself. Thank you.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere.
Thank you, choir. Thank you, Trevor, who is pulling double duty and both playing the piano and conducting today. It's incredible. And thank you, Alec. I am so grateful to be partners with all of you in creating today's worship service. So May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and you have a former psychologist as your minister. So, of course, I'm going to talk about mental health. But Mental Health Awareness Month seems like a misnomer to me. I don't usually like to list out numbers and statistics, but here I think it feels relevant. According to NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, 1 in 5 adults experience a mental illness such as anxiety or depression. 1 in 5. Look around you. That's not 1 in 5 abstract adults out there. It's not 1 in 5, but surely I am the only one in this room. It's 1 in 5, including those of us who are here today. 1 in 7 people ages 12 and older experience a substance use disorder. Not 1 in 7 abstract humans. 1 in 7 of us. 1 in 20 adults experience a severe mental illness, such as schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. Again, not 1 in 20 abstract adults. 1 in 20 of us. Since 2020, 1 in 4 of our children ages 6 to 17 are living with mental health challenges. Not 1 in 4 abstract children. 1 in 4 of our children. So the issue is not that we are not aware of mental health struggles. The issue is that we fail to talk about it. Mental health is such a broad category. There's no way I could talk about it thoroughly in one sermon. So what I'm most interested in today is what role we, as a community of faith, play in mental health and supporting those with mental health challenges. Reverend Barbara Myers, who you heard from earlier, is a Unitarian Universalist minister who writes and serves and advocates specifically around mental health and the role church communities can play in supporting those living with mental illness. She writes, mental illnesses are sometimes called no casserole diseases. People don't bring casseroles to homes where someone is hospitalized for mental problems. Discomfort, unexamined assumptions about mental illness, and cultural norms isolate people and families who are in desperate need of community support. No casserole diseases. That's not the role I want our community of faith to play in addressing mental health. I think about the story we read during the Time for All Ages this morning. Nasruddin came to the court wearing his clothes from working in the field, and he was ignored. He came to the court wearing his finest clothing, and he was welcomed with open arms. Nasruddin then begins feeding the coat because clearly it is his clothes that are welcome at this feast, and not his person. And I wonder how this dynamic shows up at church. Do we engage with one another's shining armor and smiling face without asking about the soul behind it? Do we welcome the person with all they bring, or do we welcome their expected behavior, their typical dress? Do we follow up when we don't see someone for a while, when we hear they or their child have been hospitalized? What would it mean for us to be radically welcoming to all people? People who look and act like you and people who do not. People who sometimes look and act like you and people who sometimes do not. What would it mean to be radically welcoming to the people you know are here, you know are already in our congregation, living with mental illness? What would it mean to be radically welcoming of those of us sitting here today who you don't know are living with mental illness? Many years ago, I was going through a particularly difficult time, and after several months, when the cloud was starting to lift, a member of the church I was attending finally said, "You look so good. I know the past few months have been hard for you, but I didn't want to, ask." I was angry about that for a long time. She didn't want to ask. But I've come to understand this differently, because we live in a culture where we are taught not to ask. We are taught not to share. Our American ideals teach us that we can pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps, or that we should be able to overcome any struggles we are facing on our own. This attitude is what leads to shame, isolation, and stigma. Our religious values teach us to disrupt that shame, isolation, and stigma. Our religious values encourage us not to move towards individualism and self-reliance, but towards collective and community care. I loved being a psychologist, and I love being a minister, because I love learning about all the ways there are of being human. Learning more about you, whoever you are, teaches me more about the human condition. Through being with you, whoever you are, I learn more about what it means to be human, and I learn more about the kind of human that I want to be. And this is true for each of us. Whatever you bring today in your physical or mental health, whatever is living in your past or in your present, we learn from one another. In every interaction, we learn what it means to be human. Temple Grandin is an autistic woman and expert in animal science, and she reminds us that the world needs all kinds of minds. The world needs all kinds of minds. To understand our own experience as human, to understand others' experience as human, the world needs all kinds of minds. Let us learn more about ourselves and others by giving the gift of connection and the gift of ourselves. I cannot think of a more precious gift to give or to receive.
This is the part of our service called our Congregational Life, where we highlight various opportunities for engagement centered in our UU mission. This week in our Congregational Life, we offer you these invitations. This afternoon at 4, we are having a rescheduled Black Lives Matter vigil. The recent shooting of Ralph Yarl, a 16-year-old black boy in Kansas City, reminds us that our faith calls us to proclaim that all lives do not matter until Black lives matter. We will have materials for you to make signs to proclaim your values to the Reading community, or bring your own sign. Please join us this afternoon at 4 o'clock outside the church. Monday at 7 p.m., the virtual Social Crafty group is meeting on Zoom. And also on Monday, you can join the weekly Buddhist meditation group, in person or on Zoom. And please take a look at the newsletter for information on how to order your UUCR Pride t-shirts or hoodies. These orders have to be in by May 16th. And finally, our Spring Fling Yard Sale. This will take place next Saturday, May 13th, and donations will begin to be accepted on specific days this week. Please note the days and times and locations for the donation drop-offs. They can be found in the newsletter. Volunteers are still needed for various roles before and during this fling. Please read the newsletter for all related details, or contact Martha Moore, our fundraising extraordinaire, with questions. Our friends online are invited to join the Zoom social hour hosted by AJ Heidkamp. Thank you, AJ. Thank you all for being vital part of our congregational life. Now please join us for the closing hymn 100, I've Got Peace Like a River.
our chalice extinguishing words are printed in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. May we go out into the world knowing that our presence is a gift. We live our faith by connecting with one another and ourselves, knowing that each of us is broken and loved beyond measure. Go in peace.